The theatrical punctuation mark seemed intended to emphasize the cheerful tenor voice of the talk, for that Putin thanked Trump card for the Central Intelligence Agency's assist in thwarting a terrorism story on St. Petersburg, Russia. Trump card, the White's building told, congratulated same whole intellect society on a job so made. The optimistic specification of us Russia intellect dividing, normally a object stored peaceful by the government officials, stressed the passion in that Trump card is coming his relation in Putin, motive anxiety amongst several domestic safety expert. Among Vortex investigations in probable conspiracy among his campaigning and Russia, Trump card remnant tranquil on encourage the exterior of shut bonds among oneself and Putin. And in comparison with history US leaders, whose conversations in the Russians were planned and strategized to escape declining in traps, Trump card engages Putin on matters big and little, occasionally out of the involvement of his top domestic safety aides. The ties among the two men is amongst the largest hard-discussed tactful relationships in the planet, the study nourished by probes creature carried out by the specific advisor Robert Mueller and members of convention. Addition to the mix is the forthcoming last date for formidable new congressionally required sanctions regime on Russia for its behavior in recent years poll. For Trump card, his latter exchanges in Putin represent advance in his long-time purpose to enhance bonds in Russia. But several domestic safety experts worry about the obvious proximity among Trump card and Putin could sum to and try to handle a CEO intention on manufacturing advance on how vanity. Thou include to recall Putin's backdrop. Same's a KGB official. How's which they do? They hire holdings, Tung added. Or I believe several of how expertise and low instincts of Putin has go in act there in his operating of acute essential expense for him. Tung done precise he was just talk vividly while relating to Trump card as a Rusky property. Behind to back telephone call Saturdays urge among Trump card and Putin was the other among the two men in the interval of 4 persons days. On Thursday, following Trump card trapped breeze of Putin's commend for the U.S. economics for a 4 persons hour click meeting, the U.S. lead typed his copy to propose his thanks to. It was large, Trump card told in recounting the telephone urge to reporters. He told really pleasant things on which I've made for the nation in regulation of the economics, and later he told as well several adverse things in regulation of which's departure on in another place. Really, Putin in his click meeting lambasted claims how he aimed an impact campaigning for recent years' president poll. He told such claims were developed, done up by human beings who are in opposition to CEO Trump card in a type to spilling a adverse lighting on which CEO Trump card is making. Trump card has as well downplayed concerns on Russia's poll interference, and informally bemoans to friends how the investigations are designed to compromise the legality of his poll. Within the White's building, Trump card's revulsion to debating the poll interference question is so named amongst his domestic safety personnel. So it was thing of a surprise party on Monday while the authorities' official domestic safety policy comprehensive Moscow's attempts to destabilize and erode democracies. Via upgraded forms of disruptive tactic, Russia interferes in the national policy sphere of countries about the planet, recite the congressionally mandated paper. As Trump card opened the policy tenet for speech in Washington on Monday, yet, he avoiding any link to Russia's attempts to hinder in elections. Instead of he praised the intellect collaboration, relating to his urge on Saturday. How's a large item, and the way he's imaginary to job. How is the way he's imaginary to job, he told. Putin's propensity for adulation the separate among the politics paper and Trump card's own speech reflects greater concerns on Trump card's readiness to resist the issue of Rusky cyber intervention, that U.S. intellect agencies include signed was adopted by Putin oneself and intended to benefit Trump card. And it grown questions on how Trump card is talk in individual to Putin, who has treated hotly, and several say cleverly, to evolve hot bonds to history us leaders. Same reality how such telephone call occurred or such issues were debated is not essentially a issue, told Andrew Weiss, defect CEO for teaching at the Carnegie Talent and a ex-NSC formal by Presidents Draft Clinton and George W. Bush. Same item. How's problematical is the way Putin seems to act off Trump card's wish for approval and command, and Trump card rushes to cry it out to the planet. It looks needing, Weiss added. Is Trump card receive assist? White's building officials urge how Trump card routinely raises concerns on Russia's different destabilizing activities in his conversations in Putin. He's a question of creature brave and permanent up for his own nation, Anton, the NSC representative, told Monday. The White's building rejected to say someone, if nobody, produced Trump card for his latter telephone call in Putin. At Camping David, sheltered in Maryland's Catoctin Mountains 70 miles of Washington, Trump card was host members of his office the weekend, consisting defect CEO Mike Pence and Exchequer Registrar Steve Mnuchin. Yet by the period of Saturday's urge, Pence had dead the president refuge, on to his representative. Mnuchin was behind in Washington, emerging on night TV shows. And some office members who traversed down there turned on Habitation and City Growth Registrar Ben Carson and Farming Registrar Son Perdue, who would barely be implicated in preparation for a urge in Moscow. It wouldn't be unusual for upper-level aides Love Domestic Safety Advisor H.R.R. McMaster or Head of Personnel John Kelly to assist Trump card get ready for his urge. But Trump card has shown a readiness in the history to bypass his aides in his business relations in Putin. For a lunch for leaders visiting July's Team of 20 summit conference in Hamburg, Germany, Trump card tell in Putin for as lot as in time in just a Kremlin-provided interpreter, to the surprise party of the lunch's some audience. Since no sum us formal was this, no formal U.S. recording exists of which transpired some rather than Trump card's own ram. Usually in a man love Putin you don't wish to be one in him, told Anders Östlund, a Russia scientist at the Allows Explain Atlantic Justice, who told Putin's strengths lie in his capacity to flattery overseas peer pressure in a bid to remove acquiescence. Putin is very nice at evolving very nice relations, Östlund told, quoting later President George W. Bush's away-the-cuff declaration how he was capable to see in Putin's eyes and receive a feeling of his heart at a meet in Slovenia for Bush's at first year in office space. Sanctions regime judgment looming. Trump card's turmoil of pin in Putin above the history 1 week comes as his authority many faces a last date on formidable new sanctions regime on Russia for its Pole intervention. The penalty was turned on in a chunk of law how Trump card begrudgingly signed above the year, and a at first last date for identification probable targets was skipped. Members of Trump card's authority say they are work to get ready the sanctions regime how lawmakers require that the law state must be in location by the end of January. But recent monthly, Trump card told Russia was already authorized at a top standard and how he was intention on back the relation to friendlier regulation. Human beings don't understand Russia has been really, really hard authorized. They were authorized at a really top standard, and how took location really newly, Trump card told. He's now period to get behind to medicinal a planet how is destroyed and break. Such are really essential things. Trump card added, or I sense how possessing Russia in a amiable position, as opposed to ever fight in them, is an property to the planet and an property to our nation, not a obligation.